The Assassin. You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest. You know I break necks, call me Jack Tate. I have no regrets while your life is fading. I'm a crazy fuck equivalent to Satan. When I'm behind the mic, I feel like the greatest.
What up, y'all? You're listening to Sports Talk with Tropp, and I'm your host, Katie Tropp. Well, it's that time, conference championship time. We got some great matchups coming up this weekend. Getting ready to see who is going to represent the AFC and the NFC in the Super Bowl. We got some great matchups here. Some surprising matchups as well. Two teams that I have not believed in all season are here, and I'm actually picking them to go to the Super Bowl. So let's go ahead and get to the first matchup here. We've got the AFC Championship, Bengals at Chiefs. Did not expect the Bengals to get this far. I expected them to improve this year. I expected them to have a good season. I could tell that Joe Burrow was going to be the future of this team. You could tell that he's just a very poised quarterback, and he's only going to go up from here. But I didn't think they would make it this far, so this is good for them. They're here in the AFC Championship. The Chiefs, I haven't believed in the Chiefs all season long. I felt like their offense has underachieved, especially compared to the last two seasons. But for this playoff run, this team is really they're clicking on all cylinders, and I don't know who is going to be able to beat this team, just because they're playing so well right now, especially on offense. Right now, the Chiefs are a 7-point favorite. That is a pretty big. That's a pretty big favorite right there. And that's not really shocking to me, just because, like I said, the Bengals. This is the first time this team has been this far, whereas the Chiefs have all the experience. I mean, this is their fourth AFC Championship in a row. They're playing for potentially their third Super Bowl in a row. They already won one 2 years ago, and like I said, this has been the team to beat for the last three, now going on 4 seasons. They're a very good team, and they know how to win. Their experience in at this point in the season really helps them. But it's not just their experience. It's that, like, right now they are just playing some excellent football, at least on the offensive side of things. The defense has kind of cooled off, especially since when they faced off against the Bengals back in the regular season. They were pretty exposed, the Chiefs defense. But at this point right now, their offense is on fire. And Patrick Mahomes, he's playing on a whole other level right now. And he's really keeping this team together. And they don't even have a ground game either. I mean, their running game is pretty weak. But it hasn't mattered. It hasn't shown. And especially with what happened last week, I wouldn't be shocked if we have kind of a similar game. I don't think it's going to be as crazy and as insane as last week's Bills versus Chiefs game. But I expect a lot of offense in this game. I don't think the Bengals are going to fall over and just be like, oh, these are the Chiefs. We ain't got no shot. But I think the Bengals' weakness is their offensive line. I mean, last week Joe Burrow got smashed. 9 sacks. That's a lot for a quarterback to take. So I'm sure he's felt it all this week. But that's been their main weakness. Now, when they did face each other earlier in the regular season, the Bengals really did get the best of them. You know, Jamar Chase, he had more receiving yards than Patrick Mahomes had passing yards, which is insane on any level. Not just because it's Patrick Mahomes, but a receiver should never have more yards than the quarterback, especially somebody as great as Patrick Mahomes is. So I do expect a lot of offense in this game. Like I said, the Chiefs defense, it's really fallen off the face of the earth, but right now it doesn't matter. Their offense is just killing it on every level, and I expect them to continue that into this game. I expect their defense to actually step it up and get at Joe Burrow. If the Bengals want to have any chance in this game, they're going to have to figure out how to stop Patrick Mahomes. And that's easier said than done. I mean, the dude brought his team back last week with only 13 seconds on the clock. So good luck with that, Bengals. I think their run has been great so far. But this is going to be one of those games where I think the Chiefs are going to come out. It's going to be a battle back and forth for a little bit, but I think the Chiefs are going to be probably have the lead the majority of the way. And the Bengals, I think, will score a decent amount of points, but I just don't think they're ready to play with the big boys right now. And I got the Chiefs winning this one 35-28 and moving on to the Super Bowl. And like I said, I have not believed in the Chiefs at all, literally up until this point. So it just goes to show, man, the playoffs can be crazy. This NFL season has been crazy, and yet the Chiefs are still here. Then the NFC matchup is San Francisco 49ers at the Los Angeles Rams. Right now, the Rams are a 3.5-point favorite. This 49ers team has owned this Rams team. The Rams are 0-6 against the 49ers. Kyle Shanahan owns the Rams. He just knows how to play well against them. And even when they're down, they still end up coming back. Now, the 49ers are the other team who I have not believed in all season. I kind of thought they were, they're good, but I just didn't think, they've got a lot of injuries, and they're just not really great offensively. They're great at the ground game, and they have their moments in the passing game, but they're not like the Chiefs are just explosive. But the 49ers, they're a very tough team. That's really the best word I could use to describe the San Francisco 49ers. And they're just playing some excellent football ever since they beat the Rams in Week 18. They've really played some great football. Their defense has locked it down. Their offense knows when to make the plays. And even though Jimmy G is not lighting anybody on fire, the dude knows how to win, and the dude knows how to keep his team in it. And even if he throws an interception, which he's known to do, he still comes back, and he doesn't look like anything phases him. So I really like what the 49ers are doing right now. The Rams, they're also playing great. Matthew Stafford is really proving his worth. He's really proven that he's a much better improvement than Jared Goff was. I always assumed he would be. I'm not a person who did not believe in Matthew Stafford. As a matter of fact, I've always believed in Matthew Stafford. I just think he got fucked because he was playing in Detroit. And no matter how good you are in Detroit, at least this is what history has proven, is you can be great. They've had great players, but you're just not going to win in the postseason because you're not going to make it to the postseason. So it's been really great to see Matthew Stafford prove people wrong. Because at the beginning of the season, there were some people who were like, is he a better improvement than Jared Goff? And yes, he is. I knew it right off the bat just because Jared Goff sucks. But Matthew Stafford, he's got an amazing arm. He doesn't fall under pressure, and he's amazing when it comes to the comeback win. And he does have a lot of weapons on this offense to work with, especially at the receiver position. I mean, you got Cooper Kupp, one of the best receivers in the league. You got OBJ, who you just happen to pick up, and he's playing great. And then you also have Van Jefferson. Not a lot of people know who Van Jefferson is, but the dude, if he's open, he's going to be making the big plays. So if everybody else is focused on OBJ or Cooper Kupp, you got Van Jefferson out there. The only weakness I do see with the Rams is their ground game. Cam Akers has come back, and he played well these last couple of weeks, other than the fumbles. But the defense has been stepping it up as well, too. But the 49ers own the Rams. And until the Rams prove that they could get past the 49ers, I can't pick them. And I'm picking the 49ers in this one. I think the 49ers are going to win a close battle, 28-24. Like I said, I just like what the 49ers are doing. When you come into the playoffs and you're playing as well as both the Chiefs and the 49ers are right now, it's really tough to pick against them. So I do have the 49ers beating the Rams for the 7th time in a row. And I have Kansas City versus the 49ers as the rematch from a couple Super Bowls ago. Obviously, I won't be making a prediction until it happens, but that's who I got going to the Super Bowl. Kansas City, San Francisco rematch. I wouldn't be shocked if the Bengals or the Rams ended up winning, especially the Rams. I think the Rams have a much better chance than the Bengals do just because the Rams, while Matthew Stafford doesn't have the playoff experience, this coaching staff and all the players around him have a lot of experience in the postseason. So it's going to be another interesting game or a weekend of games, and I'm looking forward to it. And we'll see who's going to be representing in the Super Bowl on Monday. A couple other things happened in the NFL this week. We had a few more coaching changes. Had a couple signings, and shocker of the week actually was Sean Payton, the coach of the New Orleans Saints, ended up stepping down. Now, who knows what's going to happen? Of course, he does have links to the Dallas Cowboys. Actually, I read a story just as soon as Sean Payton stepped down, a couple hours later, NBC Sports was reporting a story from a couple years ago. Apparently, when the Cowboys fired Jason Garrett, they were working with the New Orleans Saints to actually trade Sean Payton to the Dallas Cowboys. Trade was good to go. They were about to sign off on it, except for something else happened at the exact same time. If you do not know, the New Orleans Saints owners also own the basketball team, the New Orleans Pelicans. At the exact same time, Anthony Davis, who was their big guy for the Pelicans, he requested a trade, and he was actually getting traded to the Lakers at the exact same time. So basically, the owners didn't want to screw over New Orleans, the city, that bad to lose AD and Sean Payton in the same year. So they actually ended up not trading Sean Payton to the Cowboys, but AD ended up going to the Lakers. So that was a very interesting story. And I'm not really surprised by it just because Sean Payton has always had links to the Dallas Cowboys. He was our offensive coordinator under Bill Parcells. And I know he just kind of seems like he'd actually be a perfect fit for the Cowboys. It doesn't look like it's going to happen this year. It looks like it's sounding like Sean Payton's leaning more towards going the media route at this point in time, which you can't blame him. But I wouldn't be shocked if I kind of have a feeling the Cowboys are in Super Bowl or bust mode next year. And I kind of feel like if they don't win the Super Bowl next year, Mike McCarthy's going to be gone, and they're immediately going to go after Sean Payton. So that's kind of what I think is going to happen there. But it was actually shocking to hear Sean Payton step down. I mean, he's been had a great tenure with the Saints. He completely turned that organization around. Obviously, Drew Brees helped, but when they signed Drew Brees, Drew Brees was pretty much only the Dolphins and the New Orleans Saints were going after him. You know, he was coming off of an okay season with the San Diego Chargers at the time. He ended up completely annihilating his shoulder in the last game of the season. So he was coming off of some major shoulder surgery, ended up signing with New Orleans. And, they really turned that franchise around. They used to be the laughingstock of the league. And it used to be a joke. Like, there's no way the Saints are going to win a Super Bowl. That's just, it'll never happen. But they ended up winning a Super Bowl, and they were a contender for the entire time Sean Payton was coach. So I hope they enjoyed that run. Who knows what's going to happen with them now? They're in disarray, especially at the quarterback position. So now that Sean Payton stepped down, it's going to be very interesting to see what happens with the New Orleans Saints in the future. And then we actually had a couple hirings this week. The Broncos hired the Green Bay Packers offensive coordinator, Nathaniel Hackett. He's never coached, so I don't really have an opinion on him yet. Green Bay's offense has been on fire the entire time he's been the offensive coordinator, but at the same time, they've had Aaron Rodgers that entire time. So who knows what it is, but that's who the Broncos went with. And then the Bears also hired the Colts defensive coordinator, Matt Eberflus, another guy. He hasn't had a head coaching position yet, so can't really tell you what he's going to do. But under his tenure, the Colts defense has been great. So we'll see what happens with both of those hirings. Those are the first two hirings we've got in the coaching vacancies right now. And then last in the football news, yesterday, Ben Roethlisberger made it official. He has officially retired after 18 seasons with the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's had an excellent career. I've already mentioned multiple times what a fan I've been of his ever since he was at Miami of Ohio. I remember watching him get drafted in 2004. I was happy he went to the Steelers so I could at least root for him. Because if he would have gone to like the New York Giants, for example, I could respect him, but I can't root for him, so it wasn't that big of a deal. Unlike a lot of Cowboys fans, I don't hate the Steelers because I was born in 85, so I didn't see them get their asses beat by the 70s Steelers. So I don't have that same kind of hatred towards the Steelers that a lot of Cowboys fans have. So when he got drafted by the Steelers, I rooted for him his entire career. I enjoyed his entire career. He didn't ever have a losing season in his entire 18 years, which says a lot. I know a lot of people like to say, oh, well, because he had Bill Cowher and Mike Tomlin and he was played for the Steelers. Well, yeah, but you know what? Every great player throughout the history of time has had greatness surrounding him as well. Nobody has ever done it on their own unless you're in like golf or tennis. But when you play a team sport, it's all the people around you who help you win. But at the same time, Roethlisberger had an excellent career. The statistics prove it. He went to 3 Super Bowls, won 2 of them, lost 1. He won Super Bowl 40, won Super Bowl 43, and lost Super Bowl 45. It was a great run through all of them. You know, Super Bowl 40 was it was a weird year for them because they actually weren't that good of a team. But when they just turned it on at towards the end of the season, made this huge run. It was Jerome Bettis' last season as a Steeler. He was already had said he was going to be retiring, and they ended up going on this beautiful playoff run and ended up winning the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 43. That was when Mike Tomlin was their coach. And one of the greatest Super Bowls, still to this day, in my opinion. I love that Super Bowl. And he took them on this amazing game-winning drive to win it at the end. Santonio Holmes, perfect pass, perfect toe drag swag. It was just an amazing Super Bowl. And then they basically got their asses beat by Green Bay in Super Bowl 45. But he took he had 12 postseason berths, 8 division titles. Some other statistics, he's 8th in passing touchdowns with 418. He's 5th in passing yards, 64,088 yards. He's 5th in completions and attempts. Also, one of my favorite stats and what I think matters the most is he is 2nd in NFL history with the most comeback drives, only behind Peyton Manning and I believe he's tied or has one more than Tom Brady. But regardless, he's up there. And game-winning drives are, especially comeback game-winning drives at the end of the game, to me are some of the that's like the most important thing, I think. Just because you always know you're in it. And it's just probably one of the most exciting things to ever happen in football, at least in my opinion. It's just to watch anybody, any team, any quarterback, any big plays that are made on a game-winning drive. To me, it's just the most exciting thing in the NFL. And when you're up there and you have the 2nd most comeback drives in NFL history, that does say a lot about you. Also, he has 165 wins with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's 2nd most behind Tom Brady for most QB wins in a career with a single team. So he did accomplish a lot with the Steelers, and he did have a lot surrounding him. But you can't really, in my opinion, you can't really say anything bad about him. He had a great career. I enjoyed his career, and I really thank you for the memories because it was a good time watching you. And whatever you do in the future, I'm sure there's plenty of opportunities for him. But I fully enjoyed Ben Roethlisberger's career. All right, and just something I noticed over the week, or earlier this week, the Lakers were playing the Nets. They actually won. And I was watching LeBron, and it's just like, it's crazy to watch both him and Tom Brady simultaneously at the same time. They're both old for athletes. LeBron's 37, Tom Brady's 44, and usually by both of those ages in NBA and NFL, there's no way you're still dominating the league. But the both of them, it's just crazy to watch. LeBron is just in such great shape, and he still plays amazing defense. He could still drive the paint, and he's just built so big. You're just like, dude, you're 37. So, and same with Tom Brady. Like, to watch the both of them, Tom Brady led the league in pretty much every freaking quarterback category this season. So that kind of play is just amazing to me, and it's actually amazing to see that the both of them are doing this at the exact same time. And it was just something I noticed when I was watching the Lakers actually beat the Nets. But they did not bounce back against the 76ers last night. As a matter of fact, they got their asses beaten. It was an awful game. But I digress. Next, I told you guys on Monday the Baseball Hall of Fame was going to piss me off by Friday. I knew they were going to, and they did. Now, first, let's get to the actual good news about the Hall of Fame. This year, they did induct somebody. They are choosing somebody, unlike last year when they didn't choose anybody, which is bullshit in my opinion, but that's what they do. But this year, David Ortiz, Big Papi, the designated hitter for the Boston Red Sox, won a few World Series with them, and one of the best players of his time, of his era. He is getting into the Hall of Fame, and I completely congratulate him. He totally deserves it. He was an excellent player, and I actually really enjoy watching him on the pregame stuff on Fox. He's hilarious, but he very well deserved. But also at the same time, it's actually pretty hypocritical because Big Papi came up in the time of also two players who did not get into the Hall of Fame and were in their final year of eligibility. That was Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens, which is just absolute bullshit that neither of them are in. The only reason why they're not in is, yes, because they were a part of the steroid era. And it's not even like questionable about their steroids where it is with Big Papi. Basically, if you don't know, with Big Papi, the league was conducting some so-called tests just as a random thing to see how many guys in the league were actually taking steroids. It wasn't some official thing. It wasn't meant to even get out there, I don't believe, but somehow the results did get out, and it was rumored, because there still is no confirmation. So it is rumored that Big Papi was one of the guys who tested positive for steroids. So there is still questions about it. But also at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if he was on them, because basically the entire league was on steroids during the steroid era. And that's why it's annoying that Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were left out. First of all, it's annoying to me that the Baseball Writers of America only give you 10 years to be eligible for the Hall of Fame. I think you should be eligible until the end of time, just because it eliminates years like last year when you don't induct anybody. But I really do think the baseball writers love this time of year. I think they like to not vote people in purposely just because all of the focus is on them. And it sucks because while Big Papi, it's great for him that he's being inducted into the Hall of Fame and it's an amazing achievement, it's being overshadowed by all the negativity about how stupid the voters are on this shit. You know, Barry Bonds, yeah, he was caught doing steroids. He was involved in the Balco thing. Roger Clemens, he wasn't involved in the Balco thing, but I don't know if you remember, but there was that whole stupid congressional hearing, and him and oh my God, what's his face from the Orioles? I can't remember his name right now. Was shaking his fingers. I never did steroids, and then it turns out he did steroids. Blah blah blah. But that's besides the point. In the steroid era, the reason why I think these guys should get in is not only because they were great. Before they started doing steroids, both Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens were great players. And post steroids, yeah, I'm sure steroids help you, blah, blah, blah. Living through the steroid era was hilarious because people really used to give a shit about it years ago. Now it's not as much of a big deal. But almost everybody was doing steroids at that time. So you can't tell me that Barry Bonds was doing steroids, but other pitchers who pitched against him weren't. Of course they were. The majority of the league at the time was doing steroids. And you also have the stupid, idiotic commissioner, Bud Selig, the biggest scumbag on earth, one of the worst commissioners ever had in any fucking sport, who was like the ringleader of this shit. He knew what was going on during the steroid era. That asshole's in the Hall of Fame, but Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens aren't. It's ridiculous. Part of the reason why they're not, and the baseball writers do this all the time, it's like I said, if you fart at them wrong and they just take it in a wrong way, they are going to hold it against you until the Baseball Hall of Fame comes around, which is ridiculous because the Baseball Hall of Fame is not the Personality Hall of Fame. It's not the Morality Hall of Fame. None of these Hall of Fames are that. They are simply if you are the best in baseball or whatever your respective sport is. It's ridiculous to sit here and say, oh, Barry Bonds was an asshole to me. And so now that I have this steroid stuff on him, I'm going to act like that's not the reason why I'm voting for him. When the reason why they're not voting for him is because Barry Bonds, yeah, he was a dick to the media. But you know what? So fucking what? He doesn't have to be nice to you. And people, they held that against him. And same thing with Roger Clemens. Both of them deserve to get in. and they didn't. Even more egregious is the fact that Curt Schilling is not in either. He was also in his 10th year of eligibility, and I've never understood why he's not in. Now I know why he's not in, because he has right-wing points of view, which is fucking ridiculous. And yes, he does have wacko right-wing points of view, but I don't fucking care. Like I just said, it's not the personality Hall of Fame. Curt Schilling was legitimately one of the best pitchers in his era as well. He fucking won a World Series with the goddamn Arizona Diamondbacks. The fucking Diamondbacks. If you're a baseball fan right now and you're young, you're like, the Diamondbacks actually won a World Series? Yeah, they beat the fucking Yankees, for Christ's sake. They were a great team, and he won a World Series with the Boston Red Sox. He literally has one of the most iconic moments where he's bleeding from his fucking sock and still pitching. But we're not going to let him in the Hall of Fame because he has right-wing point of view. Like, get the fuck out of here. You people are fucking whack. And we all know the most egregious person who's not in the Hall of Fame is Pete Rose because of his gambling when he was a fucking manager. But the Hall of Fame voters are the most ridiculous people on earth. They do this every fucking year. Like I said, I think they love the attention because they're completely not important in any way, shape, or form. And that, like I said, the only way I think should balance it out is, of course, during this type of voting, I don't have a problem with media members voting, but there should be other members voting, meaning I think Hall of Fame players and coaches and managers should be involved somehow because they actually played the game. They actually know the game. They actually know what it takes to win or to lose or to be in the big moment. And reporters don't. All reporters know how to do are be big fucking assholes and hold shit against you because they're a bunch of whiny cunts. And so I knew the Baseball Hall of Fame was going to piss me off. It sucks that them not voting certain people in overshadows the good of it when certain guys get in. But the fact that Barry Bonds, Roger Clemens, and Curt Schilling, all in their 10th year of eligibility, did not even come close to getting in. It's ridiculous. The Baseball Hall of Fame writers are ridiculous. Not all of them. There are some good ones, but it just sucks that these fucking assholes with agendas are behind certain guys not getting the accolades they deserve because they're upset with them for whatever fucking reason. But now that I've ranted about that, let's actually talk about a good player who did make the Hall of Fame. On Wednesday, it was the 2-year anniversary of when Kobe Bryant died. Kobe Bryant is why I love basketball. He is my favorite basketball player of all time. Actually, Tim Duncan's my second. It's kind of like Kobe's 1, Tim Duncan's 1A. I love both of them for many different reasons, and it was great to get to watch both of them at the exact same time. And it was weird, too, that they both retired in the exact same year. But Kobe Bryant is why I watch basketball. Watching Kobe Bryant play basketball, it was just so amazing to watch. And so since it had been 2 years since he passed, I kind of feel like I'm going to do the Tropp 5 Kobe moments. I do want to say the day he died, I do remember exactly where I was and what I was doing. I was filming a music video called When I Catch You with my friend Clayto the World Destroyer, the director Eric Sattler, and the photographer named Jason. We were all at a studio, and Jason just happened to come from the back room, and he goes, someone was in a helicopter crash. And like, me, Clay, and Eric, we're over on the set side trying to like figure out what we're going to do for this video. So it didn't really hit me. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait a second. Who'd you say? What'd you say? So who got in a helicopter crash? And he goes, Kobe. And I like look at him and like I do like the basketball shot. I'm like, Kobe? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, and I remember sitting there because like you hear the words helicopter crash. And in my head, the 5-year-old inside of me was like, is he okay? When in reality, come on, he was in a helicopter crash. Of course he's not okay. He's more than likely dead. Unfortunately. So he gave us that news and it was like a punch in the gut. I'm like, oh, fuck. And so we start filming the video, and then probably we take a break after about an hour or two. And I go just to take a look at my cell phone. And of course, it's blowing up because anybody who knows me knows I'm a huge Lakers fan, but also at the same time knows I love Kobe. And I'm getting all these text messages. Oh my God, did you hear Kobe died? And then I see one of the alerts on my phone, a news alert, Kobe Bryant has died. And I'm like, what? I was so blown away. And I remember after we filmed the video, I basically went home and was watching all the basketball games going on and them letting the 24-second clock run out. And it's just like, it was so surreal, like, because you're like, Jesus Christ, because he was only in his 40s, you know? This is Kobe Bryant. Like, if you're a Kobe Bryant fan, he could do anything. And I know that sounds stupid and childish, but if you're a basketball fan and you loved Kobe, that you know exactly what I mean when you say he could do anything. So when you hear he's dead, of course, he's a human. Humans die. That's what happened. That's what happens to everybody. That's when, if you're alive right now, you're going to be dead one of these days. And so, of course, it's going to happen to Kobe. But, like, you just didn't think it was going to happen to Kobe. At least that early, you know? We wanted to see him. You want to see him get inducted into the Hall of Fame. You want to see him on the sidelines at Laker games. You know, you wanted to see that. And so it was just very shocking on many levels. But with that being said, you know, like I said, he was my favorite player. He still is my favorite player to this day. And so I'm going to do my top 5 Kobe moments. And it was actually really fun to because I rewatched all of these moments that I'm going to discuss. And it was fun to watch just because there was nobody like Kobe before he got into the NBA, and there's nobody still to this day who plays the game like he did. And it was fun to rewatch a lot of his moments. So I'm going to start with a few honorable mentions. This first honorable mention, it's the epitome of why I love Kobe Bryant. It was Christmas Day, 2005. This is the first year without Shaq. Like I said, I'm Kobe over everybody. So when that Kobe Shaq shit was going down, I was Kobe. I was Team Kobe. I love Shaq. I love what he brought to the team, but I'm Kobe over everybody, even then. So Christmas Day 2005, we're playing the Miami Heat. That's where Shaq was traded to. It ended up being a loss, 97-92. The reason why I put this on here as an honorable mention is, A, because they lost. I wasn't going to put a fucking loss on there in my top 5. But the reason why it stuck out to me is I remember after they lost this game, one of the reasons why they lost is because the Lakers were missing a lot of shots. And Kobe specifically, he missed a few shots in the game. And after the game, ESPN is taking shots of Kobe. After the game, this dude is on the Miami Heat basketball court shooting shots. And he's shooting the shots that he missed. And that's why I put this on here, because that's the type of dude he was. If he fucked up, it wasn't because everybody else was the problem. If he fucked up, he was going to go out there and he was like, I got to fix this shit. And that's what he did. He went right out, right after that game, went to the exact spots that he missed the shots and was just shooting those hoops to make them and to teach his brain. You got to make these shots, stupid. So that was an honorable mention, and it's always stuck out to me too. I just remember watching it, I'm like, this is why I love you, Kobe. The next honorable mention is from April 12th, 2013, playing the Golden State Warriors. It was a very close battle. This season, Kobe had played more minutes than he had ever played in his entire career. This team was on his back, and then he tore his Achilles. Now, when he first went down, you're looking like, oh shit. He just sprained his ankle. It's Kobe. He's gonna be okay. But the more you look at him, you're like, fuck. And then they replayed when he hurt himself. And I've watched so many sports at this point in time that I know what it looks like when you rupture your Achilles or you tear an ACL. When it's one of those type of non-contact injuries, I always know. And I remember watching the replays. I'm like, fuck, I think he tore his Achilles. And he did. He did tear his Achilles. But on this particular play, when he tore his Achilles, he was fouled. And the reason why I put this in my top 5 honorable mentions is because after he tore his Achilles, he walked right up to the free throw line and made the free throws. Now, he did leave the game, of course, after that. The Lakers did end up winning 118 to 116. That's the common theme you're actually going to find in a lot of these top 5 moments is that while he was the focal point, and the funny thing is about Kobe Bryant's time when he played, nobody likes to give him credit for all the points he scores. He scores too much. He shoots up too many threes. He throws up too many points. And it's like, yeah, we get the win, stupid. And that's what you're going to see in a lot of these common themes is that even though the pressure's on him and he scores a lot of fucking points, the Lakers got a lot of fucking wins because of it. But in today's day and age, man, they want to see Steph Curry throw up 900,000 threes and ain't nobody got a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it either, but I'm just saying it's really funny to see how the times have changed with being the dude who just throws up all the baskets. But regardless, that the torn Achilles game, that's just another reason why I loved Kobe Bryant, because that was his mentality, was like, I don't give a shit if I got a torn Achilles. I'm going to at least go shoot my free throws. And he did. Of course, the Lakers they were headed into the playoffs that year because that was April. So that's, I think that was a couple weeks before the playoffs began. And we ended up losing in the first round, of course, because we ain't going to win nothing without Kobe Bryant. But yeah, that was a big game. And we didn't have him for a playoff run, and that was one of my favorite Kobe Bryant moments. Then the last honorable mention I have is from the 2006 first round playoffs. This is without Shaq again, so that's all we're hearing about is Shaq. But the Lakers had a great season that year, and I specifically focused on Game 4. At that point, the Lakers were dominating the series, but it was a real back-and-forth game between the Phoenix Suns and the Los Angeles Lakers. And, I mean, it was back and forth. It was so close. And if you don't remember this battle, I mean, back in the early 2000s, Lakers versus Suns was a big fucking deal. I mean, this is when we had Raja Bell. This was when they had Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire. This was a damn good Suns team. And this game went back and forth. But if you remember it, you would remember that in the fourth quarter, there was 7 seconds left. And the Suns had, I believe, a 2-point lead. And they're getting ready to inbound. And they're inbounding to Steve Nash, the MVP of the league, by the way. Steve Nash doesn't make stupid mistakes. But here he made kind of a stupid mistake. Now, there was some real good defense on him. And I believe out of all the people who got the ball, I believe it was Smush Parker who ended up getting the ball. Or actually playing some great defense, getting the ball out. And the Lakers ended up stealing the ball. And Kobe Bryant ended up making the game-winning shot with 7 seconds left on the clock, and game went into overtime. Then back and forth overtime, 6 seconds left on the clock. And this is a huge Kobe Bryant moment. If you are a Kobe Bryant fan, you know exactly what moment this is. He takes this beautiful shot, makes it, sinks it, turns around to the crowd, takes his jersey and kind of like takes it off of his heart like, yeah, bitch, I got heart. You can't fuck with Kobe Bryant. And Lakers ended up going up strong in the series, but they ended up losing. They went up 3-1 on the Phoenix Suns, but they ended up losing the entire series. But I just really liked, that's just a game 4. They won 99-98, by the way. But that's just a game that's always stuck out to me, and I just remember those the rivalry between the Phoenix Suns, and that was just a crazy game to watch. Now it's time for the Tropp 5 moments, and as you can imagine, it was very difficult to dwindle this down to 5 moments. Even those honorable mentions, like there are so many game-winning shots that Kobe had. There are so many championships. I didn't include all of the championships on here. I only included 2 moments from two of the 5 championships he won. But it was very, very difficult to choose these 5 moments. But these are the 5 moments that stuck out most to me, and they're my top 5 Kobe moments. Starting with number 5. And number 5 was his final game, April 13th, 2016 versus the Utah Jazz. And, this season, Kobe's last season, the Lakers were not good. We all knew it was going to be Kobe's last season, too. You could just tell. He even announced it even prior to this game. So we all knew what was coming. Now, I basically just watched the game because it was Kobe's last game. And the way it started, it was bad. The Lakers weren't looking good at all. It's like, man, y'all can't even show up for Kobe's last game. And he wasn't struggling, but he wasn't on fire like Kobe usually is. And you're like, well, this sucks. Is Kobe's last game going to be a loss? Well, they come out after halftime. They start putting it together a little bit. I'm even starting to doze off, because one of the things about living in Austin is it's Central Time here. So Laker games start pretty late for me. I go to bed kind of early. I'm an old person. So, I'm usually kind of knocking out about 9:30, 10 o'clock at night. And if I'm watching a Lakers game or a San Francisco Giants game, it's really difficult for me to stay up late. But I did stay up for this one. I was kind of starting to doze off. I'm like, but it's Kobe's last game. Even if it's a loss, maybe he'll do something big. We'll see what happens. So, the third quarter's moseying along. They're starting to kind of catch up with the Jazz, but it's not really anything. But you can kind of see Kobe turning it on. So I'm like, okay, good. Maybe Kobe's going to have a good night. Well, Kobe had an amazing night. In the final 3 minutes of the fourth quarter was when it started to get real. Kobe went off. The Lakers went off, and they actually ended up winning the game 101-96. And Kobe Bean Bryant dropped 60 motherfucking points in his last game. And that's Kobe. That's how he should go out. Of course, you want to see him go out with a championship, but that was not going to happen. I mean, his last 3 seasons were just awful. Not due to him and his play, but due to the Lakers' play. They just weren't a good team at all. But in his final game, 60 points, a win. I call that a great way to see the Black Mamba go out for his career. And I still remember that game to this day. It was a very emotional game, just to be like, shit, this is his last game. But it was good. And that is my number 5 moment. My number 4, it's not just one moment, but it was a 50-point streak of 4 games for Kobe Bryant in the 2007 season. He just went off. That's what Kobe's known for. And like I said, people used to complain all the time. That was what everybody wanted to try. And all the haters, that's all they ever wanted to say. Hey, he scores too much. He scores too much. He just scores way too much. Okay, we still get the wins. And that's why I put this on there, because what you're going to notice is the Lakers got wins out of all of these 50-point games. So the streak first started on March 16th, 2007 against the Trailblazers. The Lakers won in overtime, 116-111. Kobe had 65 points, 7 rebounds, and 3 assists and 3 steals. At this point in time, the Lakers had lost 7 games in a row. And Kobe just knew, hey, I gotta go off. I gotta do this. So he did, and that's where he really took over, and this was it right here, and that ended that losing streak. He actually ended up scoring 24 points in the fourth quarter, and Lakers got the win. And then the next game was March 18th, 2007 against the Timberwolves. The Lakers won 109-102. Kobe ended up dropping 50 points with 6 rebounds, 3 assists, and 3 steals. He had a 17-point first quarter rather than taking over in the fourth quarter. He just was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to take over right now. And the Lakers got out to a huge lead and ended up getting the win. Then the next game, March 22nd, 2007, Lakers versus Grizzlies. Lakers won 121-119. Kobe, once again, he scores 60 points. 60 points, 5 rebounds, and 4 assists. He becomes the 4th player in NBA history to score 50 or more points in 3 consecutive games, joining only Wilt Chamberlain, Elgin Baylor, and Michael Jordan to ever do that. And specifically in this game, he had 17 points in the third quarter and just went off, had another great game. Then the following game was March 23rd, 2007, Lakers versus Hornets. Lakers won 111-105, and Kobe's stat line was 50 points, 7 rebounds, and 1 assist. That 50-point streak came to an end the following game, but he had 43 points. So he still scored a lot. It just wasn't the 50 points. But that's what I mean. Is one of the reasons why I like that is that you notice the theme there is he scored a lot of points and they still got the win. So I don't know what people were complaining about, but that's the only way you could ever say anything bad about Kobe at that point in time. Then my number 3 moment is in the 2000 finals. Game 4, actually. This is the first of 5 championships for Kobe Bryant, and this is what I'd like to call his coming out party for the playoffs. Now, he is in that same year. They did have a great run against the Portland Trail Blazers in a Game 7. He came back. It was a great game. And so that was technically his coming out party, but in the finals, most specifically Game 4, it was all Kobe. Up to this point, they were playing the Indiana Pacers. At this time, the Pacers were an amazing team. And they just had some great players on the team. And they were great. You could not fuck with the Pacers at this time. They had Reggie Miller. If you don't know who Reggie Miller is, he was the Steph Curry before Steph Curry would hit the court. They also had Jalen Rose at the time. They were a really good team. And so the Lakers had their hands full, especially going into Game 4. Kobe was actually injured in Game 2. Jalen Rose slid under him when he was shooting up a mid-range jumper. And it looked like it was on purpose, and Jalen Rose has admitted to this day it was on purpose, but whatever. The Lakers won the series in 6 games, so haha. But basically, Kobe missed Game 3, and he came back for Game 4. And he just had some amazing plays in Game 4. But what was also amazing is they ended up going to overtime. And Shaq actually fouled out. Now, at this time in this Lakers dynasty, Shaq was the focal point. If Shaq wasn't having a good game, usually that meant the Lakers weren't going to have a good game. But Shaq ended up fouling out in this game with 2:29 left in the overtime period, and Kobe just took over. He ended up there were a couple plays that most notably that I wrote down. He had this crossover pull-up jumper on Reggie Miller. He had a rise-up shot from about the same spot that Mark Jackson was like, what's going on here? He blocked Austin Crozier on a layup that would have cut the lead. And then he had the reverse tip-in at the end. And then he, with 5.9 seconds left, and the Lakers ended up winning that game, taking a 3-1 series lead, and they ended up winning, and that was their first championship. So that's my third favorite Kobe moment. Number 2, it's not just a moment. It's about the same thing as number 4 with the 50-point streak, except this one is actually more impressive. This is in January of 2006. Kobe went on a historic 13-game run where he scored a total of 564 points. This also includes the 81-point game. And that is basically what the moment, that game specifically is like the key moment. But really, 13 games, 564 points, that says a lot. And also at the time, prior to this run, Kobe was suspended I can't remember why. He had a hard foul or something on somebody and ended up getting suspended for a game. And Phil Jackson basically told him, show them what the fuck they just did, who they just pissed off by suspending you. And basically that's what Kobe did that month of January. And I mean that month of January, he went off. January 6th against the 76ers. By the way, they won the majority of these games that I'm going to tell you about. So for the month of January, started off with Philadelphia 76ers. He scored 48 points. Next game against the Clippers, 50 points. Next game against the Pacers, 45. Next game, Portland, 41. Next game, Cleveland, 27. Next game, Golden State, 38. Miami, 37. Sacramento, 51. Phoenix, 37. Then the big game, Toronto, 81. Golden State, 30. Detroit, 39. And then rounding out the month of January against the Knicks with 40 points. That's a huge run. And during that run, the Lakers went 9-4. Now, prior to that, they weren't doing so well. So they they needed Kobe Bryant to score a whole bunch of points. And what did Kobe do? He scored the points, they got the wins, and went 9-4. Now, let's talk about the 81-point game. Now, the 81-point game, it sticks out in my brain like no other. One of the reasons why it sticks out in my brain is because, so at the time, I grew up in Reno, Nevada, so you would get Lakers games sometimes. You would mostly get you would always get the main games that would be on. But if they were playing the Raptors, that's who they were playing. And at the time, the Raptors weren't a very good team. They were okay, but they weren't like a playoff contender. So that game was not on TV, at least where I was. But I remember I was just kind of like dicking around on my computer, and I had ESPN News on, and I was watching the ticker. And I could see, like, Kobe was just going off. Every time the ticker would come back to the Lakers-Raptors game, I'd see Kobe's points going up and up. And so about halftime, I was like, shit, I should turn on, because I had Sirius satellite radio. And if you don't know, they play every single game. I'm like, well, I should at least listen to what's going on. So I turn on the game. And, listening to games is not the same as watching games, but I'm not going to lie. I felt like I was watching this game. As it just keeps going on, I'm like, holy shit, he's doing it. And he ended up with 81 points. That's the second most points anybody's ever scored. Wilt Chamberlain scored 100. And they don't even have like a footage of him on the court. That's how long ago it was. So to see somebody score 81 points, I mean, of course it's going to be Kobe. That's just who Kobe was. But that was just, I listened to it on the radio, and I felt like I watched it, and I still remember to this day listening to that on the radio and being like, holy shit. It's too bad this game was not on TV on a nationally televised level, because that was one of the most insane things. And that was Kobe, man. If you are a Kobe fan, that 81-point game is right up there. My number one Kobe moment is actually not just a Kobe moment. It's actually my favorite Lakers championship they've ever won in my lifetime, at least. I've watched them win 6 of them, and my favorite one was the 2010 NBA Finals. And so that's my number one favorite Kobe moment. And it's funny too, because it went 7 games, and this was a battle. This was a great Celtics team. They had Paul Pierce, they had Kevin Garnett, they had Ray Allen. This team was stacked, and it was a battle the whole way through. I remember just watching every game, being on the edge of my seat, like, is this series ever coming to an end? Are the Lakers going to beat the Celtics? Because if you don't remember, 2 years prior to this one, they lost to the Celtics in the NBA Finals in terrible fashion too. Like, it wasn't even close. So this time, the Lakers played great defense. They were playing great. And Game 7 was in LA. And I kid you not, Kobe Bryant probably had the worst game of his career in Game 7. He went 6 for 24. He couldn't drop a pass or drop a bucket that night. He was playing so horrible. But he made the shots that he needed to make. who really stepped it up in this game was Lamar Odom stepped it up. Pau Gasol stepped it up. I believe Andrew Bynum had a good game too. So everybody else around him stepped it up. But I mean, overall in the series, Kobe had a great series. But it was one of the most, it's the most enjoyable NBA Finals to me, especially because, the Kobe Shaq thing, it really, really accentuated the hate on Kobe. I mean, being a Kobe fan, I've been in so many very heated arguments over Kobe. He's a very polarizing player for whatever reason. And not even because of the rape accusations. That even before that happened, people really hated Kobe. And so that year when he won the 2010 NBA Finals was it was really vindicating because lots of people had Shaq's back for whatever reason. And that's fine if you liked him, whatever. But Kobe needed to prove something. And he did. He won 2 titles without Shaq. And but this one, I think, was the sweetest of all because, the year before they beat the Orlando Magic, who weren't that good. But this Celtics team was legit. And this was a legit series. I think it was the hardest series that he ever played in. And to me, it still sticks out in my head. It's my favorite NBA Finals I've ever watched, especially for the Lakers. And that's my number one Kobe moment. So that's my top 5 Kobe moments. I'm really appreciative that I got to see his entire career. He can't hear me, but I really thank him for all the great memories he's provided me. And like I said, getting to rewatch a lot of these moments, it was awesome. And there's nobody like him, and I don't think there's ever going to be anybody like him. And so with that, I'm going to end it today's show with a Kobe Bryant quote. It's my favorite Kobe Bryant quote. It sits right next to me. I see it every single day. And it really relates to me in life because I totally feel this quote. I can't relate to lazy people. We do not speak the same language. I don't understand you. I don't want to understand you. The great Kobe Bean Bryant. All right, y'all. Enjoy this weekend's games. We'll see who's going to be representing the Super Bowl on Monday. So have a great weekend, guys.